All right. It is now 8 p.m. Tuesday night. Welcome to the BFDK Black Fathers, Dads, and Kings podcast. Up front and in your face. Hi, I'm J.I. Griggs. I'm here as your podcast host for tonight and every night. Just to give you some business notes, if you want to look and check out any previous podcast, go to and subscribe my YouTube page, Black Fathers, Dads, Kings Podcast, and check us out for previous episodes recorded. Sit down, listen, talk, and chat with those fathers who have tuned in thus far. Still waiting for some folks to come in. I see one is coming in now. This is Coach Karl Towns. Tuning in. There he is.
Yo.
My man.
What's good?
Hey, things are good.
Come on, I can't see nothing. Hold on.
Bingo. Just wanted to click in and tune in. We are now live and recording on the Black Fathers, Dads, and Kings podcast. Again, tonight, we're going to check out a particular question that I said that we would talk about last week, and it is Black Fathers, Dads, and Kings who are sports dads and coaches. Like I said, I have with me guests tonight, my brother, my friend, my, Ace Coon Boom, known each other for years, 20 plus, Karl Towns Sr. For those who don't know, he is the father of Karl Anthony Towns, all-star NBA center for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Welcome, my brother Karl. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And just to kind of get a feel of what tonight's podcast is going to be about, again, it's about sports dads and coaches, of these athletes who have gone on to reach the highest heights in their sport, whether it be team or individual. I know that for you, having Karl Anthony, or as we know him by Cat, make it to the level and where he is now as one of the best players, top, to me, in my opinion, and I'm quite sure there are a lot of people who feel this way, top 10 players in the NBA right now. His stats prove that, okay? And what I can say, and knowing and seeing him grow from the time he was, sixth grade, seventh grade, doing what he does, and the time and effort that I know that you put in with him to get to that level. I just want to tell those who are tuning in a particular story in reference to that. One day, remember, I don't know if you remember this, Karl, we were at some kind of a Rutgers basketball game. I don't know if it was a high school game or it was a Rutgers game. And they had Karl had to be no more than in the, I think in his 7th or 8th grade at the time. And he was actually like one of the guys or one of the, young men that's out there, and he comes out and he cleans the floor when they go down. And he was just kind of like a ball boy at the time. And it was halftime, and me and you were sitting alongside where the actual stand was, or seating area was for stats. And Karl runs out there, Cat runs out there, picks up a basketball, and he just starts chucking up these threes and knocking them down, and he was going to all 5 points on the three-point line and just knocking shots down. And you looked at me and I looked at you, and the rest of the crowd that was there at the rack that night is like, whose child is this? Who is this kid just, knocking down threes like it was nothing, And I always knew that he had it, but for me, and I can't say this to you because you're his dad, the light went off. The light went off, the light bulb went off in my head. It's like, wow. And I'm thinking 6, 7 years from now, when I actually saw that live myself, I wasn't thinking at the time. I wish I could have recorded it and say, this is what this kid is doing now in the 6th, 7th grade with the help of you and God bless his mom, Jackie, that you guys have put in the work. I just want to just know from you, I mean, as a sports dad, coach, and we do a lot of training and coaching together, how did this come about for you?
Basically, first of all, thanks for having me, John. Basically, it just came from repetitions. I had AAU teams. I was coaching high school, and I had to always pick him up and bring him to my practice because Jackie, when she rested in peace, was working till 4, and I used to get out early. My practice started at 4, but he got out of school at 3, so I would pick him up on my way, and he would come to the gym and work out with my JV team while I was practicing my varsity. So when she worked late, he would stay like 2 hours, and I would let him be a part of the JV team and play against my high school teams, and it just developed. And then every day after, he would say, could I just shoot? And I would stay there 15, 20 minutes, just let him shoot, or I would sign him to a JV player, and they would take him on another court and let him shoot for 15 minutes before he had to leave with his mom. But it got to be repetitious because it was every day. Every day we had practice. He stopped in and worked on his game. We did drills. He would be doing too. He would get in on the dribbling drills, the drills, the shooting drills with all the kids. He would just be the lone youngest, but he would be out there dribbling better than my varsity and JV kids. So it just came something natural. And when he got to St. Joe's, after every St. Joe's practice, they would practice up to school. I practiced at night. So he would leave St. Joe's, come over to Votech, where I was coaching, and practice there and shoot for an hour on the side. So he just became something that was repetitious, and he just carried it from elementary, high school, college to the pros. And now in the pros, it paid off because people laugh. But when I had Karl when he was young, and people used to see me having dribble and shooting threes, they used to crack up on me, laugh at me, talk about me behind my back.
Mm-hmm.
So what big thin kid doing dribbling and shooting threes when he should be on the block? Now I'm laughing at all them today because if you can't shoot now, you can't play in the NBA.
Right. And I remember those days, when, you would 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, you up at Piscataway Votech, and you had him out there on the floor, and then you had him in the weight room. And it was once or twice, he was like, John, just come up, just come up and see, and you'd have him in the weight room, and you have him doing things that were, to maybe some sports dads, was a little unorthodox. But I believe that you saw the vision and you saw the future. Because like you said, if you can't shoot playing in the NBA now, it's very hard to make it to that league, and Karl Cat has actually done that. I know that there's a stat, I don't know if I have it right, but he's right now the best shooting center in the NBA outside the 3-point line.
Yeah, 43%.
And that is astronomical in itself. So those people who saw you and had him, putting up, hundreds of 3-pointers, knowing that this kid's, growth span is going to be a possible 7 feet, and thinking, okay, back then, the only place a 7-footer with any kind of footwork is going to play with any kind of length is down on the block, and maybe stretch out to a corner in some kind of zone defense or something like that, but getting the ball, flashing to the free throw line, turn around, shooting, not stepping out past the 3-point line. I believe as a dad and as a father, you kind of saw the vision, that took his ability and his talent to the next level. But the other thing is that he was willing to go. He had some resistance at one point because, I don't know if people know, At one point, basketball wasn't his favorite sport. You know, he was a baseball guy, you know, and he had that length, but being a baseball guy at, you know, 6'3", 6'4" in middle school, and then all of a sudden sprouting up to 6'9", 6'10" in high school, you start to kind of look at things and say, wow, you know, I have the ability to play both at a high level. Which one is going to give me a full-length career? And I know and I can come in and dominate like he has done in the NBA. I know that thought was going through his mind several times, you know, like, wow, you know, and with the help of, you know, you and again, Jackie, God bless her, you know, you guys poured in as sports dad and mom into him to help him make that right choice and decision. I remember when he sat there and he was having that conversation, you know, in his brain about, okay, where am I going to go to school? And all these schools are offering and coming at him, and Duke and Kentucky. And he sat down, and I look at that video all the time of him sitting there next to Jackie and making that choice and decision to go to Kentucky. How, as a sports dad, let me ask you, how instrumental, if you were any, in him making that choice and decision after St. Joe's having that successful career McDonald American at St. Joe's to, you know, attend Kentucky? How did that come about?
Well, basically it was like this. He had all the schools, and we told him, we're not going to pick a school for you. So we'll go on a little triangle tour, take you to all the schools that you're interested in, but you have to make the choice. Because me and Jackie always said we would never tell our kid where to go, because we don't ever want it to come back and slap us in the face that we forced him to go there. But I think after his experience of playing trying out for the Olympics with the Dominican team and getting used to Cal's style of play, I mean, he basically felt comfortable with Kentucky. Now, Duke was in there, and the only problem with Duke was my wife didn't like the fact that he had to be in the general population and walk across campus, and that was the only thing that held it back. But I think him being comfortable with Cal and the system and people talking to him, telling him it was the best fit for him, made it a lot easier on us, because he got a chance to see what Cal's style was, because Cal was the Dominican coach. So he basically got to understand the system, the way it would be, and what Cal expected. So it helped out in his decision process.
Great. You know, and, you know, like it's mentioned before, it was something that, you know, we all knew was going to happen. You know, you had those skeptics, you know, but they're quiet now, you know, and it's to me the amazing job that you've done, not just with Cat, but all of the lives that you have touched when it's come to particular sport, basketball basically, and the people that, you know, we've come in contact with, the athletes, the basketball players, male and female. You know, I want to give you your kudos and your flowers now, my brother, because you put the work in, and you put the work in with not a lot of fanfare. You know, you hear about a lot. We go online and I see a lot of trainers out there and basketball guys, and, you know, they got, you know, IG up and Facebook up, and they got all kinds of social media things that they're posting about what they do. And you've been able to pour into, you know, as a coach, as a sports dad, you know, the athletes that we've come in contact with, your experience and knowledge and know-how to get them prepared to play at the levels that they do, you know. And you, again, have done that, not a lot of fanfare, behind the scenes. And I remember you telling me, you said, John, just imagine if we actually pub this thing. Cat Crew, we actually just went out and pubbed this thing. I mean, we would have to turn some people away. So I understood the method to the madness, my brother. I understood it, because
I just never wanted to have something that was fly by night. I wanted people to come in there who wanted to get better. So that's why I just kept it down to people that was coming. Like I said, nobody's trying to be a babysitting service. We're trying to help parents and their kids get to the levels that they need to.
Right.
So that's always been with me. And I always say to this day, I say, I don't need nobody to toot my horn. I don't need nobody to say, oh, I tell these kids when they get scholarships or get on their high school teams, they ain't got to say my name. I don't want nobody to know what you got, because I don't want people to know you that they're out there getting better because we're doing. I want people to get their own accolades. I don't need accolades. Listen, every day, or I can just travel and go with the Timberwolves. But I take time just like you do, and we take time to help those who need help, because if we didn't help them, then, we'd be just as bad as another guy. We know we can help kids get better and get to other levels. But if we sit back and throw them to the wayside, then we're not better than the next guy. And like I said, we don't want any accolades. I want the parents to feel good about what they invested in, because I'm regardless.
Right. And that's what it's about. It's the humility and the humbleness and what you do. And I'm just along for the ride, my brother. I learned so much from you in how to prepare and temperament and things. And I learned something every time we go into the gym and we grab that raw talent and we put him or her on the court and we say, okay, what is it that you need to help you improve your game or improve what you do with this sport? And it always comes down to the fundamentals, on both sides of the ball. It always comes down to that. And driving that repetitious way into their, psyche, this is what you need to do.
You got that right. And the thing that gets me is that we learn from each other, but we learn from the kids, because the kids come in telling us, I can't do this, I could do that. So it's like they give us a job and we make sure we complete our job. And I can honestly say, every kid that comes to us gets to where they're going. Like I said, we don't need the accolades, because the kids out there put our product on the screen every day, because next thing you know, there's parents asking them where they go. And the kids be like, oh, I've been doing it on my own. Because a lot of parents don't want to say where they go, because these people will be coming to our workouts. We're like, who are you? Oh, so-and-so said he's coming here today. Oh, no, we don't do it like that. We don't take, how about this? We don't take walk-ons. This ain't no pro, bro.
Here it is.
You want to know who's coming and how to do the practice.
There it is. I want to ask you, 2 questions.
Sure.
Just 2 questions. Are you a sports dad and a coach, which you are? And if so, what type of sports dad and a coach would you say you are?
That's easy. I am straight up. Listen, I am what they call all in.
Right.
I'm all in. As a sports dad, I make sure to watch every part of the game so I can give my son the questions and answers he needs to be addressed when he calls me. Karl calls me after every game and says, blah, blah, blah. And I'm a straight shooter. I say, this is that. I don't know why, because he don't want to be sugarcoated. If he did something, I'll tell him. And when it comes to being a dad, I'm a dad 365, because once we talk about the game once, that's it. That's it. Now I'm a dad. We just stood around and laughed. He just, for like 10, 15 minutes, was to hear what I saw. If we win, there ain't even no conversations. Great job. Move on to the next. Because there's nothing to talk about when they win, because winning is what it's about. Now, if there's little intangible things I may get on, like nitpicky things, like I need you to stop fouling, then I'll let them know. But after that, and after I say what I have to say, that's it. I don't go into no more. I'm good. Right. I'm all to that. Either being a sports dad and a dad.
Yeah. And for me, just to answer that question, what type of sports dad am I or was I? My issue was that I kind of like always paid attention to details. Mm-hmm. It was the small details that the big ones handle themselves. It's the small ones that I kind of like harped on, and doing it for my two sons, JD and Malcolm, and going through their levels in which they played and still play till this day, training and having them out on the field, having them on the court, like you, going to this different kind of AAU when they were playing basketball and taking them to different camps when they were playing high school football. I mean, we traveled. We were all over the place, from Ohio to Pittsburgh to New York to Syracuse to North Carolina. We were we were everywhere, just being able to get them on the field to be around athletes of their caliber and to see how they would function around these athletes, to see if they could hang out. And for the most part, they did. They did. At every camp I associated them with or tournament they went to, they shined, they performed, and thus it helped propel them to be the collegiate and pro athletes that they, eventually became. So, and a lot of it is also following in the footsteps of people like you, those times we made those trips to Pittsburgh and, sitting back, I don't say much when I'm sitting back. I just like to watch and observe and check out mannerisms and things of that nature, how that works, and it's real interesting that, we have seen it. We have seen it, this inception of sports dads, especially here in Piscataway. Piscataway's got that kind of like feel as kind of like Sports Town in New Jersey for a while, Sports Town USA. Sports Illustrated also put that in there. And a lot of that goes back to us as dads, me, you, Sherman, Malik Barnwell, Sharp, Jay Sharp, when we look at it, these kids that we, came into the world and we brought here, hey, they went on to do great things. Jay Sharp's son, Tajay, with the Atlanta Falcons now, Malik Barnwell with his two sons, they went on to do great things on the collegiate level, and it's just mind-boggling that, these things happen, but
you're right.
It's because of the dads that put time and work in. I look at Sherman and his two daughters, his daughter Taylor went on to, Dominican and played there, graduated, went, got her master's. Now she's, the associate athletic director at Union County College. Youngest daughter, Dominique, she's now one of the top field hockey players in her conference down there at Townsend, and again, sports dads, putting the work in, putting the time in, Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Are sports dads necessary for today's Black athlete? Are there a need?
Absolutely, because people don't understand something. Having a sports dad who knows the sport, who's played the sports, makes it easier to relate to your kid, maybe male or female. And it's a good relationship because it gives you a bond that you guys have something in common that you can sit down and talk to. A lot of these athletes today don't have a dad in their lives, so they have a great mom, but it's not the same when it comes, because you don't know if the mom plays sports or can relate to the sport that's in general. So having to be in a sports dad is good, because when I sit down and talk to my son, we know what each other is talking about. We know stuff that when I say something, he knows. He says sometimes, so I wish everybody could have a sports dad. But like I said, there's great sports moms out there too. Don't get it twisted. There's moms out there that know more about men, know more than some men do about sports. So it goes both ways. But in terms of your question, I think everyone needs to have somebody, maybe male or female, but a sports dad for a male environment, sport, like even basketball, is great. Because like I said, most women would want to have a sports mom, because sometimes girls don't want to tell their dad stuff, but it's easier to talk to mom. Just like some guys want to tell their dad stuff but not tell their mom. So in both terms, yes. But in the question you asked, I think a sports dad is very beneficial for success of some athletes.
Yes. And I believe in that too, because, you know, as Black fathers, dads, and kings, you know, we want to be able to have our children, male or female, if they're participating in a sport or activity or whatever, to look at us and come to us and say, okay, all right, how do I do this? And how can you help me be better at doing this, whether it's sports, whether it's academics, whether it's, you know, some kind of other activity, and you would want that for them to be able to come to you as the parent, mom or dad, and say, hey, how do I accomplish this? How do I do this? You know, because especially like you know, everything down there at Monmouth University, you know, I think you hold the rebound record down there about what, 1,100?
Absolutely.
Ah, okay. You know, so and then I, you know, went on and played college football and you know, did my thing out there, and now I'm looking on it like, wow, this is you know, a genetic thing. This is something that's been passed down, and you know, what I can say is that, you know, well done, well done.
Appreciate you.
It's well done, and you know, like I said, I want to give you your flowers now, my brother, that you put the work in. You know?
I don't need no gifts. You know what I got? Cats out there and a son that stayed the program.
Right.
Never deviated from the program and listened. And that's not on him. My girls I trained, my boys, they just followed what we taught them and got successful. It's just amazing. I had a girl here today. I had the girl from South Jersey today. Said she was having problems shooting, took her in the gym, fixed it. And she said, that's all I needed. I said, some of these cats got to come home and get that lesson from someone who knows exactly what's wrong.
Right.
So that's what the kudos to me is, to see my players come back and say, yo, can you get me in the gym? Because I got to work and I need to work on stuff with you. That's what it's about. It's about always being able to step in there and help these kids when they need you.
Exactly. I agree 100%. You know, and it's something that, you know, dads, fathers, you know, we have to kind of like look at and say, what role do we play in this? You know, because there are a lot of dads out there didn't play sports, know nothing about a sport that their child wants to involve themselves into, you know, and it is amazing that I know we've come across those dads that are like, I know nothing about basketball, but this kid has something. He wants to play it. He wants to know how to improve and take his game to the next level. And when that dad comes to me and just says, hey, he's yours, you know, for this hour and a half, 2 hours, what can you do? And and you know, we've taken kids from scratch. We've taken kids who couldn't, you roll out the ball to them and you stand there and say, well, what is the first shot they're going to take? They can't shoot a three, but the first place they're going to go is to a 3-point line.
One line.
You know, and you say, can't dribble the ball worth anything. And then you see them 2 or 3 years later. And then we have to also inform these parents that this is a process. You know, when Joel Embiid said that when he first came into the league, trust the process, they have to. This is not going to happen overnight.
But the thing that's so crazy is that once you get a kid to a statue, start getting notoriety, start making a name for the kid, they want to go to the next best thing. But as soon as that falters, they want to come back home.
Oh,
it's always been the same thing. Once you leave the house, you can't come back to the house.
We've been there. We've been there. You know, it's and that's the funny thing. You know, I always have this philosophy: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, you work with what got you there and improve on that, versus just saying, well, he helped me or she helped me get to this point. Now I'm here, put that on the back burner. Let's move on. You know,
They think just because you go to somebody else and they offer you something that's the right move. But majority of the time, and I'm talking majority of the time, not a minimum, it always falters. Because
Yeah,
they end up sending their kids to a program, the program sees some other kids, they bring them kids in and your kid, now your kid's not playing, and you're like, why ain't my kid getting in? But then you come back to me and say, yo, someone said, can you make calls? Nah, I'm good. Because I'm not gonna come back and you can't come back to the well once you left the dry. Like, no. You gotta find a way. Same way we had your kid go on and made him a good player, had him scholarship out. You felt there was something about this, and it's nothing to be mean. But like I said, where's that coach that took you? Why ain't he helping you?
right,
Why you have to come back to me? He's
right.
one who told you that, and hit you with the peanut butter and jelly stuff, and you ate the sandwich, and now that the sandwich is dry and ain't no milk or no water, nah, I'm good.
Yes, 100%. I agree. And we've seen that dozens of times, hundreds of times, with the athletes that we've trained. And I still get phone calls. I'm quite sure you do. Coach, what are you doing? How much time do you have? Can you do this? Can you do that? And there are certain ones I just look at the phone. I give no response, no revive on the text. And then there's the one or two I think about and say, okay. And then I ask them the question, why all of a sudden now are we making a left turn and a U-turn coming back this way? What happened? What happened? You realize that on the other side of that, it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. And we always have this conversation about sharks. A lot of these kids go to these places and they go and become these sharks. Baby sharks, or excuse me, they become these guppies.
Guppies.
Sharks there.
Guppies.
And these sharks wind up eating them up. And then they come back and say, well, why did I make that choice and decision? Because you felt you could be a shark. And you always had that make that comment. And I've seen it for myself. A lot of these high school coaches aren't teaching basketball. They're using these kids in ways as needs versus really preparing them to play the game the proper way and at the next level.
You're right about that. Some coaches need to be on the sidelines watching instead of coaching.
And for that fact, a lot of like the high school coaches nowadays, they're just collecting a check.
That's all they're doing.
Yeah. I've gone to several high school basketball practices and watched and be like, wow, like no skill in drill, no preparation, no sets, no defense, what basketball are you teaching them? And then you're expecting them to go out and win you 25, 30 games to get to the tournament.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm not gonna change. Parents just don't want to change. They just want easy acceptance and keep it moving.
Right. But while we do what we do, and we put time in, and I know that you do, and that hour and a half that you get a chance to, touch a young athlete, and but you need to also understand too, Karl, that a lot of the athletes that we have and a lot of the athletes that we, come in contact with, they look up to you big time.
I appreciate that.
They do. They may not always tell you, or they may not always show it, but they look up to you. They understand it, and they'll come to me and like, well, why is Coach Karl yelling at me? And why is he? And I'm like, well, this is not just a physical practice. This is not just a physical workout in basketball. He's teaching you something mentally on how to deal with those coaches who are going to do that. You're not going to always have that coach, and I haven't seen one yet that's just going to sit down and have a conversation with you during the game. They're going to come at you for the things that you do good and bad. And They may not do it in a nice way. So he's preparing you mentally, he's preparing you emotionally, he's preparing you physically to be able to sustain your ability to go out there and play ball, be a team player, and what a lot of these kids don't realize is how much you pour into them.
Exactly. You know, and I know.
Oh, I know. I know. And to me, that's a real sports dad. That's a real coach, that can pour into these kids, from personal experiences, basketball experiences, and just life in general.
Exactly.
Because that game and that sport will take you as far as it's going to take you. Then after that, you got to start living life.
No doubt. Amen.
And you got to learn lessons from that sport that you got to take into life with you every single day. And that's how I look at it. It's life lessons, that we're giving them. We're just adding a twist of basketball to it.
Amen.
Yeah. We're just adding a twist of basketball to it, And again, I want to thank you. And I always up my big brother, and tell him, hey, we put the work in.
Yes, we did. And we still will. Going to.
We're still doing it, and we put the work in, and it is what it is. And I see my brother Larry's tuning in. He's just coming in towards the end of the podcast tonight, but I want to thank him for doing so. Can you hear me, brother Larry?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Got you. Again, tonight's topic and subject was about sports dads and coaches. And because you're just getting in, let me just ask you a question.
Go ahead.
You're a sports dad. I know that because I know, about your sons. As a sports dad, okay, what type of sports dad were you and or coach?
Oh, man. I mean.
Turn your camera on.
Hold on here. Let me figure this shit out. Zoom, participate, start video.
Bingo.
Okay. Well, man, I mean, you know what? I kind of tried to go the only way I know. The only way I know. Based upon the way I was coached, in high school and whatnot. But what I noticed is the biggest difference, the kids are not the same as we were.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot more, how do I say this? A lot more, I had to be a little softer with the firm. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's kind of like, it was different, man. It was a challenge for me, man, because it was like, let's, get down to it, 100-yard wind sprints, let's go, we're going. And a lot of the kids nowadays, and even my own, is kind of, they weren't built like that. It had to be a little bit more softer, gentler, and more concerned about their feelings and shit like that and stuff. So it was a challenge, And I remember specifically one day I went to my middle son's practice, and I was watching, and they were running wind sprints, and I'm looking at they doing like the 50s or the gases, and I'm like, "What the hell is this?" I said, "Coach," I said, "What the hell is this?" He said, "Man, if you run them too hard, they quit." I said, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
So we didn't come from that, man.
We didn't.
We had to get it in. So it was different.
And I can say, honestly, yes, I've seen that, and several, athletes that I've trained and got them out there, and they'll go 25 yards and what? Or they have to hit that hill and what? I got to flip that tire, what?
Yeah.
And then you try to explain to them that this is going to help you when that ball's in your hand, or you got to dribble that ball up the court. This is what this is supposed to do, and if you can, have the endurance to complete this, then it's easy on the court or on the field. It's fun.
Yeah. All the conditioning we did paid off. I remember one specific time, one year we weren't that good. I think it was Coach Gibbs said, we're not going to lose because we're tired.
Right.
So the talent level wasn't there, but they made sure we were physically fit to perform in the game the best that we could. So we got our talent leveled up. So it's like, I'm used to like, get it in and let's go. Get down and do what you got to do. Win sprints, nutcrackers, the whole 9 yards.
See, you taking me back now. Carl's a basketball guy. So, when he hears the word nutcracker, I know he's wondering, what the heck are they talking about?
I taught football at Perth Amboy 6 years.
Oh, see, then you know.
I know.
So then you know what a nutcracker is, right?
Cats get cracked up in that one-on-one shit.
Hey man, there's this point in time. Sometimes you try to dip in the back, but at that point you can't hide.
Right.
Can't hide.
You had to man up and say, okay, I'm either I'm gonna do it or I'm gonna get done, but I'm gonna try.
I remember
you tried.
And I'm gonna be honest.
Time watching cats line up, and we knew the cat was gonna get cracked, but we was ready to go. Boom, pick him up, move next man up.
I personally hated it.
Huh?
I personally hated it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I personally hate it. And because my mind is that, okay, I'm a wide receiver and I'm a defensive back. Why am I running into an offensive lineman or a D lineman trying to hit him or he's trying to hit me? My mind is saying, I'm trying to avoid this dude. If I got to shift left or shift right, I'm not trying to run into him. And the fact that if I'm on the offensive side, he got to come get me. Now, he's fast enough to catch me, then I'm just caught.
Well, that didn't happen that much, man. You were gifted with enough speed to avoid a lot of shit.
That was my mentality. that some of the guys that we play with, I still fear to this day. I see him, I'll be like, hey, what's up, my man? Hey, I see a Hezzy Bay and be like, hey, how you doing?
Man, Hezzy Bay was a killer.
Or see one of them guys and be like, hey, man, and I tell them, I'll be like, I'm shaking your hand, but 40-some odd years ago, woo.
Yeah.
You weren't one of my best friends.
Not at all.
Well, you weren't one of my best friends.
No,
but
not at all.
A person like Franklin Walker, Coach Walker, it's hard for me to call him Frank.
Man, please. We couldn't do that.
He's always going to be Coach. Karl, he's now the superintendent of schools in Jersey City. He went from being a high school football coach and phys ed teacher to now running the second largest school district in the state. About to retire. He's retiring in January. And that was my coach. I didn't have my first white coach until I got to college.
Right.
I didn't know what that was.
Right.
And in the 4 years in high school, I only recall one white football player on our team.
Yep, Anthony Frazier.
I had no idea what that was like
until
I got to college. Out in California. And then in Montana, both of us who were out there, Larry, we were what? One of only 4 on the team, black?
Something like that.
Yeah, me, you, Jimmy. What was the big offensive lineman?
Lee.
Mountain Man.
Yeah. And then we had what's the brother name from Vegas? What the hell was his name? He dated the
He was Hawaiian. He was Samoan, wasn't he?
Yeah. Mark
was Hawaiian. So again, coaches, I didn't have those. I didn't have those we didn't have those, especially in college. We didn't have black coaches. What was that?
Like ordering their rate and no one got.
Even when I was at Pacific, we didn't have Pete Carroll, and those guys were coaches. We didn't have, black coaches, So it is important as a father, as a dad, as a sports dad / coach, that these Black athletes who you see are doing these tremendous things, such as his son Karl and my sons who, you know, went on and played collegiate football and one still playing, you know, in the IFL and pros. Hey, I sit back in awe every day, you know, and think about, you know, what we process and put these kids through to become the athletes and the human beings that they have become, you know? So again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. You know, we're only gonna go 45 minutes. I don't want to kind of bleep out on us, you know. And again, I want to thank you for tuning in to Black Fathers, Dads, Kings podcast, and tonight's topic, sports dads and coaches. You know, I want to thank you, my brother Karl and Larry, for tuning in. Until next week, okay? And again, if you guys have any topics, subjects, things that you want to talk about up front, you know, and bring them on, hey, send me a text, send me a chat, and we'll discuss those topics.
Hey, what's next week, man? Not like close to Christmas?
Yeah. Christmas is on Saturday, right? 25th.
I don't know.
Next week will be 21.
Yeah, will be the 21st. So
okay, all right, we good.
You know, I can do a special Christmas podcast. That's on you. And again, if you guys got anything that you want to talk about, discuss, you know, kicking it and you know, bring it to the table, we are more than welcome to do it. We can do it live here, you know. And again, the past episodes of this podcast are actually out there on YouTube. Okay. It's under Black Fathers, Dads, Kings podcast, you know, and those past episodes and discussions are actually out there. This one will be posted probably within the next day or two. So if you want to actually take a look at this one, it'll be out there within the next day or two.
I appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate you guys too. You guys good?
We good.
Bingo. Until next Tuesday.
All right, man.
Peace and love.